The views expressed on this Turnbuckle Tabloid live stream or Turnbuckle Tabloid podcast episode do not reflect the views, thoughts, or opinions of the Rageworks brand, including the Rageworks Podcast Network, Rageworks content partners, advertisers, and affiliates. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jay, the Red Santee, and just want to let you know that yes, Olskey and I have finally caved in. We've got ourselves a Patreon. Yes, Turnbuckle Tabloid has a Patreon. Patreon.com/Turnbuckle Tabloid. We've done it. We said, fuck it. If you guys want to be a part of the show a little bit deeper, more in depth, intense, get more involved in the behind the scenes and be a part of the show in a more intimate and sensuous ways, why not pay for it? Go to Turnbuckle Tabloid's Patreon at patreon.com/Turnbuckle Tabloid. You guys can be a part of it. Check out the tiers, things that might be able to fit your needs when it comes to us here at Turnbuckle Tabloid. So guys, please help us out here. It helps us to build the product, better audio, better apps, better programs, and of course, helps us to build us to be a better podcast, although we're awesome as is. But still, regardless, your contributions, your shillings, your bits of change could help us to grow here at Turnbuckle Tabloid. So once again, patreon.com/Turnbuckle Tabloid. Be a part of the extravaganza and the ridiculous and buffoonery that is Turnbuckle Tabloid. Join us on social media and as well as all the podcasting outlets. And as always, enjoy the show.
Turnbuckle Tabloid.
3, 2, 1.
This is the COO of WWE, Triple H, and you're listening to Turnbuckle Tabloid. Download and stream from all podcasting outlets like iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, iHeart, and all podcasting outlets you can listen to.
Are you shy? Have you ever wanted to deliver a special message to that special someone, but have been too shy to do it? Well, that all changes today, as Turnbuckle Tabloid presents WrestleGram. Turnbuckle Tabloid gets for you wrestlers from in the ring and in the grave to send personal messages to your special someones for any special occasion you have to offer. Here's an example of our program as Ultimate Warrior sends a special message for Lisa's 8th grade graduation.
The Ultimate Warrior has learned that you are going to be going up to the next level in your education. The moons, the stars, the sun, and all rainbows have aligned to make you the smarter, the bigger, and more aligned genius than you are. Take it to the next level of your education. The Ultimate Warrior knows how it to be the highest level of the next being. The next being comes from within. You are the strongest of the strong, the best of the best, the best of the best of the best of the best, and also the best of the best of the best, and even the best of the best of other than the best. The Ultimate Warrior understands what it feels like to earn your degree, the higher learning, the heavenly powers, the knowledge of mind, of those of being, of those of being, of those of being, being of those of being of those. The Ultimate Warrior knows how to be smart. Congratulations on your graduation.
Here's another example of WrestleGram as Drew McIntyre receives a special request from a friend complaining about his displeasure from another friend in the club.
Yeah, who it is?
Hello, is this John?
Yeah, what up?
What's going on, buddy? This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre here to tell you about your experience last night in the club.
Okay.
I was paid $5.99 to tell you that you were a dirty piece of shit last night and that you blew off your friend for pussy.
What?
Do you want me to claymore you in the fucking face? You heard me.
I guess. Alright.
Why did you abandon your friend last night?
Okay, I gotta go.
Is this good enough? Alright, listen, man. Fuck off. Get the fuck out of here. Are you tired of the same old political telemarketers? Recommend WrestleGram so you can get phone calls like this.
Hey people from Phillip County, West Virginia. This is Jesse the Body Ventura, former governor of Minnesota. Make sure you go out and vote for Charles R. Dealey. Charles R. Dealey, the man who knows what your county needs. Charles R. Dealey is the man who is recognized for his love of the county, love for the people, and the love for farm animals. Do not think about his charge of sexual misconduct with goats. That was 20 years ago and does not really consider anything that's really connected to what's going on in this day and age. Charles R. Dealey for your county. This is Jesse the Body Ventura, former governor of Minnesota.
You could buy a WrestleGram today for a friend, a loved one, an associate, or any other scumbag in your life that you care for. WrestleGram, the wrestling audio greeting card.
WrestleGram, each audio is $2.99 per serving, and also an additional $5.99 for anything outside of the United States and Puerto Rico area. WrestleGram, a promotion paid for and distributed by Turnbuckle Tabloid.
Live stream or Turnbuckle Tabloid podcast episode do not reflect the views, thoughts, or opinions of the Rageworks brand, including the Rageworks podcast network, Rageworks content partners, advertisers, and affiliates. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jay the Red Santee, and just want to let you know that yes, Olskey and I have finally caved in. We've got ourselves a Patreon. Yes, Turnbuckle Tabloid has a Patreon. Patreon.com/Turnbuckle Tabloid. We've done it. We said, fuck it. If you guys want to be a part of the show a little bit deeper, more in depth, intense, get more involved in the behind the scenes and be a part of the show in a more intimate and sensuous ways, why not pay for it? Go to Turnbuckle Tabloid's Patreon at patreon.com/Turnbuckle Tabloid. You guys can be a part of it. Check out the tiers, things that might be able to fit your needs when it comes to us here at Turnbuckle Tabloid. So guys, please help us out here. It helps us to build the product, better audio, better apps, better programs, and of course, helps us to build us to be a better podcast, although we're awesome as is. But still, regardless, your contributions, your shillings, your bits of change could help us to grow here at Turnbuckle Tabloid. So once again, patreon.com/Turnbuckle Tabloid. Be a part of the extravaganza and the ridiculous and buffoonery that is Turnbuckle Tabloid. Join us on social media and as well as all the podcasting outlets. And as always, enjoy the show.
Turnbuckle Tabloid.
3, 2, 1.
This is the COO of WWE, Triple H, and you're listening to Turnbuckle Tabloid.
Download and stream from all podcasting outlets like iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, iHeart, and all podcasting outlets you can listen to.
Are you shy? Have you ever wanted to deliver a special message to that special someone, but have been too shy to do it? Well, that all changes today, as Turnbuckle Tabloid presents WrestleGram. Turnbuckle Tabloid gets for you wrestlers from in the ring and in the grave to send personal messages to your special someones for any special occasion you have to offer. Here's an example of our program as Ultimate Warrior sends a special message for Lisa's 8th grade graduation.
The Ultimate Warrior has learned that you are going to be going up to the next level in your education. The moons, the stars, the sun, and all rainbows have aligned to make you the smarter, the bigger, and more aligned genius than you are. Take it to the next level of your education. The Ultimate Warrior knows how it to be the highest level of the next being. The next being comes from within. You are the strongest of the strong, the best of the best, the best of the best of the best of the best, and also the best of the best of the best, and even the best of the best of other than the best. The Ultimate Warrior understands what it feels like to earn your degree, the higher learning, the heavenly powers, the knowledge of mind, of those of being, of those of being, of those of being, being of those of being of those. The Ultimate Warrior knows how to be smart. Congratulations on your graduation.
Here's another example of WrestleGram as Drew McIntyre receives a special request from a friend complaining about his displeasure from another friend in the club.
Yeah, who it is?
Hello, is this John?
Yeah, what up?
What's going on, buddy? This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre here to tell you about your experience last night in the club.
Okay.
I was paid $5.99 to tell you that you were a dirty piece of shit last night and that you blew off your friend for pussy.
What?
Do you want me to claymore you in the fucking face? You heard me.
I guess. All right.
Why did you abandon your friend last night?
Okay, I gotta go.
Is this good enough? All right, listen, man. Fuck off. Get the fuck out of here. Are you tired of the same old political telemarketers? Recommend WrestleGram so you can get phone calls like this.
Hey, people from Phillip County, West Virginia. This is Jesse the Body Ventura, former governor of Minnesota. Make sure you go out and vote for Charles R. Dealey. Charles R. Dealey, the man who knows what your county needs. Charles R. Dealey is the man who is recognized for his love of the county, love for the people, and the love for farm animals. Do not think about his charge of sexual misconduct with goats. That was 20 years ago and does not really consider anything that's really connected to what's going on in this day and age. Charles R. Dealey for your county. This is Jesse the Body Ventura, former governor of Minnesota.
You could buy a WrestleGram today for a friend, a loved one, an associate, or any other scumbag in your life that you care for. WrestleGram, the wrestling audio greeting card.
WrestleGram, each audio is $2.99 per serving, and also an additional $5.99 for anything outside of the United States and Puerto Rico area. WrestleGram, a promotion paid for and distributed by Turnbuckle Tabloid. Turnbuckle Tabloid cutting a promo. Excuse me if I sound a little lucid. It's because this week I just had a tooth pulled.
Tooth.
Let me tell you that I felt that shit.
I can imagine.
I felt that motherfucker.
Yeah, man.
That was
Not
that
fun.
was a harrowing experience, bro.
Yeah, you're a soldier for that one, bruh.
I mean, people tell me left and right, they're like, "Oh, it's nothing, it's fine."
They tend to forget that my fat ass needs more Novocaine than a lot of other motherfuckers do.
Right. Listen, I need the quadruple dose. Always.
When you were heavier and you went to the dentist, like did they had to dose you up a little something extra?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, for sure. I haven't gone since the weight loss, so I mean, I guess we'll find out. But they gave me a lot.
I think he gave me 6 shots, and I was like, more. I might need more.
I remember he told me there's a limit, brother. I'm like, no, not for me. Give me all of it.
Yeah,
make me pass out. Make me pass out. I'm not good with my teeth at all.
Well, they had told me that I could have requested for the gas, but I was like, nah, I've never been put under, so I wouldn't know how it is.
I would do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
You don't trust that?
Yeah, I'm skeptical about that shit.
Passing out. I had to do that.
Yeah, I might wake up and my pants are down and shit. I don't know.
I had to get the gas when I broke both my arms. They had to do the surgery and they gave me the gas.
Shit. How old were you?
7.
Damn, fuck, that's crazy.
I was 7. Yeah, like I said, I still remember the dream that I had when I was knocked out. It's crazy.
Well, you like that little kid that went to the dentist? He's like, that's the thing that.
Basically,
yeah.
The only thing was like my 2 broken arms. Like I woke up and like they were in cast.
Shit, hold on. What is this? Hold on, I gotta edit something. Make it public. There you go. What the fuck? Why was that locked? Okay.
No clue.
Now we back. All right. Now we're back. There we go. I was like, what the hell? So they had the lock on it. Like somebody blocked us. So, Turnbuckle Tabloid, ladies and gentlemen, we're here paying homage and paying respect to our guy, Eddie Guerrero, Latino Heat, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, phone lines are open, 315-371-4367. Phone lines are open on Skype, 315-371-4367. So, we was gonna do something else this week, but then I realized, I said, the anniversary came around, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I think we should talk about the man.
Well, we both love Eddie so much.
Of course.
He's in my top 3 of all time. So, I mean, he truly got me into wrestling.
Well, why, though?
I mean, every time he came out, it was entertaining. I mean, it wasn't just a normal match. It was always something. It was always a chair being thrown. It was always him trying to lie, cheat, steal. It was always a gimmick when he came out. So, like, when I was as a kid, it was always fun for me to make him come out on SmackDown. Like, I remember watching WrestleMania 20, and when he untied his boot and Kurt Angle tried doing the ankle lock and the boot flew off, I was like, I love this guy. Like, it's not just a normal match with Eddie. It was always something different.
That's genius, though.
Yeah, it's genius.
That is genius.
Like, I don't think anyone would. And you know what? I guarantee you that was Eddie's idea. He pulled Kurt to the side and said, "Yo, this would be a great idea, Holmes. Let's do that shit. Like, let's get." And it fucking was genius. That has to be one of the most genius finishes in WrestleMania history, in my opinion. Like, that shit was awesome.
It's funny that even Brock Lesnar. Sorry about that. Even Brock Lesnar made a comment this past week where he said that he misses Eddie. He misses him in the locker room.
Yeah.
He misses the time that they had.
You already know he'd still be a locker room leader and that veteran, like not wrestling anymore, but like you know that he'd still be that presence in the back, like a David Wright kind of guy.
Eddie would have been 50, I believe it is,
around there. Yeah,
him because I believe he and Jericho were the same age, and yeah, man, it's terrible. We already know how he passed and what was the circumstance for it. But before we get into all that, his last days, I want to talk about the early days with Eddie. I remember watching Eddie in WCW. You didn't really have the benefits of that because you were still a young lad at the time.
The first time I saw Eddie was Los Guerreros with him and Chavo as SmackDown Tag Champions. That was before he became WWE champ.
Right. The tag team.
Yeah, Los Guerreros. But yeah, go ahead. Because people underlook WCW days. A friend was talking to me about what he should watch to catch up in wrestling, and I said Eddie, Ray, Halloween Havoc. There you go.
Well, the biggest platform that they had early on, besides the WCW, was ECW. But in WCW, it was that Cruiserweight hour.
Yeah.
They usually gave the big promos early on in Nitro, and then basically between 8 and 9 was the Cruiserweight hour. And
it's genius. It started off the night energetic and fast pace.
And those guys were out there just. I mean, it was La Parka. You had Juventud Guerrero. You had when Ray first came out. But there was something different when Eddie came out. Eddie was just, I mean, he grabbed the mic and was entertaining. In the ring, he sold what he was talking. It wasn't basically the whole lineage because he was such a large figure within his own family, because the Guerreros is a dynasty within themselves. The father, the uncles, everybody was in Texas and California, and they were tearing it up. But Eddie seemed as though that he took of everyone, like Chavo Classic and all those guys, and made himself one full total package wrestler. He started out early on, I believe, it was USWA when he tagged with Art Bart. That's where he got the frog splash from Art Bart. And I don't know, it was something different. And I could always go to route and say, he was Latino like me, but it wasn't even that. It wasn't even that kind of thought process. It was more about the performance, the wrestler who knew how to chain wrestle, who knew where the spots was in the ring. And it was rare at the time, especially when in WCW, when the whole big focus was the NWO and such. Eddie was able to pull away and show that there was something other than them and to chase, With WCW, as frustrated as he was in there during that time, because he figured that he should have had the spot, and guys like himself, Malenko, Benoit, Jericho, they should have been the front page of their programs or the main articles and the wrestling news and such. They will always look differently because they were smaller. They never looked at them the same way.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Vince loves big sweaty men, correct? Which, by the way, bro, the volume's still on.
Yeah, but it's on my own.
On the headphones? Yeah. Oh, okay. Nah, like in the early days before, like now, in all honesty, it was always you have to be a big giant like Hulk Hogan or Andre, or it was always about how big you were, not how good you were. And I think Eddie was one of the first people to introduce that I didn't have to be the biggest guy in the room to matter. A lot of people think that Daniel Bryan got kind of that attitude from Eddie and from the Benoits and Eddies, and it's like, yeah, you kind of fucking right. I mean, we're gonna go into it later about how when Eddie beat Brock, but that cruiserweight hour, for example, it was a great way to start the show, and people realized that was when we were getting the ratings the most. That was when like fast-paced action mattered, and Eddie. Like you said, there's always something about Eddie that made him stand out from the rest. I don't know if it was his charisma, if it was his connection with the audience, but it was always like Latino Heat was like you just felt it. Do you get early Eddie vibes from Angel Garza?
Yeah, I can see it, but this still
like what's the difference between the two? Because people are. I mean, it's a big difference. Angel Garza has a long way to go, but what I'm saying, like I'm talking about Eddie's early days. The early days with the Rose, the whole Latino Heat.
I could even get it from Andrade a bit, but it's almost as like if you took Andrade and Garza and put them in a blender, you still would get
mix of sugar, spice, and everything nice.
Yeah, you would still get a semi-clone of Eddie because
nothing will compare.
It's like when they do the Bat Fusion in Dragon Ball, and
right, and one's skinny, one's fucking fat.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be the same kind of thing, but you can get the semblance of why people could want to put those two together. Like I could see Eddie would have flourished anywhere he went if he wasn't dealing with his demons. If he didn't have to deal with what it was, Eddie would have flourished. Like right now, Eddie would have probably still, if he wouldn't be in WWE, he would probably be one of their top stars. He would have been the Jericho role in All Elite.
Yeah. Honestly, to be honest, I would not be surprised. Eddie was a true leader in the back, and from the time I saw him wrestle, it was just always fun. He was true entertainment. He made every feud matter. He found different ways to win, which is a heelish way for most of the time. But it was just the dude was a crafty, resourceful wrestler who would do anything to win, and regardless if that was face or heel, it was always just fun. And you can't beat that. You can't beat that.
I still take pride in knowing that I saw a lot of his great matches live, like the Dean Malenko ECW match, the Rey Mysterio matches.
You saw that in person?
Well, live as in watching it on TV live.
Yeah.
I didn't see those in recording. The other ones where he was in these head to heads with like the Dean Malenkos or the Oh my God! La Parka. Well, those were like goofy ones when they did form like LWO and shit like that. It was always fun to see Eddie get in those matches, depending on whether he was face or heel, but also he was able to work it. And there's not a lot of guys that can do that shit.
It's
not
hard.
a lot of guys that can sell that shit.
Yeah, facts, 100%.
It's just a weird, it's a weird but genuine kind of creativity when you get a guy who is supposed to work heel, but yet you still love the way he works.
While doing dirty tactics as well.
Right.
It's like he did the roll, like any cheap roll up pin where like the throwing the chair at the person and falling, like that's shit that usually you go, you son of a bitch, what the fuck are you like you are a villain. And every time I stood up and just like cheered.
Slick says Garza is like Rick Rude meets Razor Ramon. I mean,
that's a fucking weird fusion, but sure. That is a weird fusion, pa.
I don't. To me, when I see what Eddie's done, and I could go with the whole racial thing, but like what he did for the Latin community. It's like, no, it's not even about that.
I don't think
It's about
that.
wrestling. Period. You see everybody from across. You see Bailey. You see Sasha. Who those were that was the first person that they saw in wrestling was like, holy shit, I want to. And those are women, and you could tell in a lot of wrestlers in these days that are coming up, like Leo Rushes and stuff like that. Those guys who saw Eddie and saw them as not as an icon or a role model, but was a foundation of where their wrestling is at.
Well, people said, excuse me, multiple guys in the back have said that no one's worked better in the ring than Eddie. Chemistry-wise, on the fly, always. Don't they say you're a pro when you could orchestrate the match on the fly? Eddie was supposedly known for doing that. Eddie was known
calling in a ring. He's good. He was good at that.
Which that's a hard thing to do. In my opinion.
It's rare where you get a bad Eddie match unless
the other person fucked up.
No,
honestly.
but also that's the way it was booked, and he would let it be known also that stories would tell that Eddie would be in the back and let people be known, like, listen, I'm not a fan of the way this match is going,
Right.
And it's terrible to say that even, especially then during that era, they give John Cena the green light as being the man who basically pushed that era forward, but you really don't give fucking credit to where the credit is due, man. Eddie held down that SmackDown fucking program for years, man. I mean, shit. You could take what you want when he was fighting from the underneath position where people were sitting there believing that he shouldn't get that top dog main event brass ring spot, and he was scratching his and building his way up.
Yeah.
But shit, did he make it fucking work, and did he draw a fucking audience when he was there, man?
In SmackDown?
Oh yeah.
When I think of SmackDown, I think of four people.
Remember, it's the Sensational Six there, the SmackDown 6 that they had.
Right, but like if you were to tell me like you think of SmackDown, I think of, I'll give you it's Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, Undertaker, Batista for me, and I think Rey Mysterio or someone else, but like the main four is
Cena was there.
And Cena, but I think Cena, I think Raw, to be honest with you, like Cena owned Raw, but Eddie Guerrero is like the Mount Rushmore of SmackDown for me. Every single week, whether it was the Big Show or Kurt Angle, like his feuds were with the top guys. Always interesting, always fun, there's always a catch with Eddie. It was never. But the sad part with Eddie with me was after hearing the documentary after he passed and the book, after reading the book, as the book said, Eddie would go out, would be in the locker room crawling on his hands and knees in pain. Like Eddie would be crying from pain, and the second they said they go out to Gorilla, he would just out of nowhere just jump right back up from the floor and just do what he got to do, and no one would know when he walked out of Gorilla that he was in pain. Like he had a switch, like he had like a magical Olympic switch where
he knew when to turn it on.
I was in dying pain in the back. I can barely even put my tights on to Viva la raza, like fucking mad hype. That is legendary.
Well, you got to think about
legendary.
When you think about the SmackDown 6, when that's including Cena and Brock. When you think about the SmackDown 6,
Brock, yeah.
it was Kurt, Edge, Benoit, Mysterio, and Chavo, including Eddie. It was those 6 that you could have put in a feud for the 2 years.
Yep.
In a rotation,
and it would have worked.
And it would have been, and it was gold.
Yeah, we have a few groups now that could do that maybe, but not like that.
No.
That's unheard of now. SmackDown was the best back then. I mean, SmackDown will always be my favorite show, and Eddie has to probably be one of the reasons for it. Is there any notable feud during Eddie's SmackDown run that you love the most? Because I think him and Kurt Angle was my favorite.
Oh, Kurt was
when he
great.
when he sold all the Olympic medals and all that shit. Like, ugh, no, you can't beat that.
But I think the most
Kurt was my favorite.
To me was the big chase, especially when it came to Brock. That was my big draw for him and my appreciation. Because
I cried when he won that night, but let me ask you this: Did you guys at your age, did you guys have any clue that he was going to win that night?
No, not at all. I would have appreciated that he didn't, because the story itself was better.
Right.
But
you were expecting but you were expecting a good match, but Brock was going to win, right?
Oh, yeah. But I'll give you a sneak preview of what it is. Let me play this one real quick. Courtesy of WWE.
Eddie, I hate guys like you always running around expecting sympathy from everybody. Guys like you running around trying to take things away from hard-working people like me. Eddie Guerrero, I really hope you are addicted to losing, because this Sunday at No Way Out, you're gonna get your fix.
You see, and that's
so
scary, because
it's great storytelling though.
And when you hear that, it's like, how many people would at least allow their lives to be opened up that way?
Well, now we see that with Jeff Hardy, but I mean,
it's not the same. It's not the same. Because
really? I don't know. It kind of go. It's like demons.
In your mind, what are your chances against the champion Brock Lesnar in 10 days at No Way Out?
You want to know my chances?
And I love it because Eddie sold the fuck out of shit, man.
Yep.
At the Royal Rumble, you beat 14 other SmackDown superstars. In this very ring, Eddie, the Big Show, 500 pounds.
And people tend to forget, Brock can cut.
Yeah. One day he could.
He gets one day.
One day.
Congratulations, Eddie. But let me tell you
I wonder if they gave Brock bullet points for this.
Probably.
Was not in that ring.
I remember he was 12 at this time. He was
Brock was a kid.
Big muscle head 12-year-old.
Hulk Hogan. Brock Lesnar has beaten Ric Flair. Brock Lesnar has beaten The Rock for the WWE title. Brock.
Still love that belt.
It's my favorite.
That's quite a resume, Holmes. Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Big Show, Kurt Angle. Damn, bro. I'm impressed. Holmes, if I had a resume like that, man, I wouldn't be afraid of Eddie Guerrero. Oh, no. See, Brock, I don't have all those accomplishments. The only thing I have going for me.
He was so loved, man.
And that was natural.
So yeah,
it was natural. He was, right after when Rock left, he was basically the people's champ.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Always with a mic.
Mm-hmm.
See, Holmes, so I was saying the only thing I got going for me, Holmes, is that every obstacle that's been put in front of me I have overcome. But I didn't overcome these obstacles, ese vato, by listening to people like you. See, all my life, Brock, I've had people like you in my ear, ese vato. Hey, Eddie, you're not 6'7", 300 pounds. Orale, vato, you'll never do anything in the wrestling business, Holmes. Orale, Eddie, those personal demons that you battle every day, they're too strong for you. You can't beat them. You'll never gain your kids back. You'll never redeem your children. You can't do it, Eddie. You're no one. No, it is not.
But you know what's funny is that
Passion, man.
Like I said, but I don't need passion, but it's true because wrestling changed him because we saw him years later, and he became this swole up fucking monster. The WCW Eddie we saw, you know, was a nice frame guy, had a nice physique, went to WWF, and you know he was still that same kind of look, and his demons were catching up to him. They had to let him go for a bit, and they brought him back, and all of a sudden he put on another 25, 30 pounds, cut up. He looked like an action figure.
Yeah.
He looked like a legit He-Man like action figure, and he figured that that's the only way I'm going to get the look and the respect.
Well, that's originally why he left WCW, correct?
Well,
he never could have made it to the main event picture. They didn't give him that spot, that chance, because maybe
The vanilla midgets.
Yeah, they never gave him a chance. I mean, and then when he came to WWF with the Radicals, it was kind of the same thing. I mean, there was hope there, but mid card seemed like the highest tier.
Right.
It seemed like U.S. champion IC was the farthest he was gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
So. Which same way goes to Benoit. Out of nowhere, Benoit turned into a fucking elite action figure, and they turned into like
they're like fucking pit bulls. They fucking their heads got swollen up and shit.
Which not for a good reason, ladies and gentlemen. It's not because they, let's just be honest here. It was a lot of steroids being used. It was a lot of negative substances, but it's unfortunate that was the way the company was back then. But it was true. You had to be at a certain weight at a certain tone.
But those guys were. On SmackDown, they brought the ratings. It was those guys.
Yeah, well, SmackDown became the wrestling show, and Raw became the entertainment show.
Mm-hmm.
Raw had Evolution, SmackDown had Lucha Libre. Raw had Kane, SmackDown had Kurt Angle. There was a clear difference between both shows. And by the way, if no one has seen the Ruthless Aggression docuseries on the network, I suggest you do, because it goes right into that. It talks about how Eddie and Kurt Angle and these pure wrestlers changed SmackDown from the B show to the A show, and it turned. Honestly, I know you. I watched. I was watching around that time.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even close.
No, it wasn't.
Raw sucked compared to SmackDown. I looked forward to Eddie and Ray and even Jamie Noble more than Raw at that point in time. I really did. Game changing, and Eddie has a lot to do with that.
People even talk about the Rey Mysterio angle during that time with the I'm Your Papi thing or whatever.
Oh, the one about the custody of Dominic?
Yeah.
Oh, it's my favorite feud of all time.
It's funny because I always thought about
I love
at that time I was like, this is so stupid.
Nah.
But what came from it were great matches. That's what basically I took from that whole angle. I didn't really care about the whole Jerry Springer bullshit. All I loved was the matches that came out of it.
Yeah, but you know what, though? You could give me Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio, and the storyline could be like the custody of Rey Mysterio's dog shit, and I would still love it. Like, Eddie and Ray were family, son. Like, and you could just tell when you're best friends, because that's when you get the best matches. When you have that close relationship. And Eddie and Ray, they never held back, man. That match at SummerSlam has to be one of my favorite matches of all time. Not the best match when you look at it. A few botches, Vicky coming in late. It wasn't the best 5-star match in terms of in-ring work, but I'll be honest. I was a kid, and that was my first ever SummerSlam bought, and I didn't care about Hogan and Shawn. I didn't care about Benoit and Orlando Jordan. I cared about Eddie and Ray.
I just realized I don't have an Eddie figure.
I just got the new one.
Yeah, I don't have one.
Yeah.
I gotta go find one. I gotta find me an Eddie figure.
Like you have to understand, Dominic was my age basically around that time.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw that story going to him, I'm like, that could be my friend at school, son. Yeah, that could be. Yeah, I'm trying.
I would love that figure. The "I'm Your Papi" T-shirt one.
Yeah, no, bro.
I gotta find. I gotta.
There are Targets, but you could buy one on Mercari and online. I bought mine for $25.
Yeah,
they usually go for $20, so I just paid up shipping.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah, 100%.
But that whole story, and then I loved when, when Eddie came and he had the frosted tips,
Yeah,
that look that Eddie had.
Absolutely, man. Do you remember when he ate Batista's burrito on accident and shit himself? I mean, come on. The memories are way too many to even say on this show. The sewage waste on the Big Show when he fucking basically shot him with shit.
Yeah.
Selling the merchandise from Kurt Angle, having his own store. Him and Chavo had amazing moments. It wasn't just when you get that combo, because usually it's either way. You know how they say, "Oh, you either have big titties and no ass, and big ass and no titties."
Yeah.
It's either or. Eddie got both. Okay, Eddie had the big ass and the big titties.
The vignettes with him and Chavo when they're going to golf courses and
and steal the clubs and shit like that. Like he would go like the old woman's house and like say that the pool inspectors, but they had like the floaties on because they were gonna fucking use their pool. But that's what I'm saying. Like you usually get which this is rare. You either get you're great on the mic, but you're shitty in the ring, or you're great in the ring and shitty on the mic. Guess what? Eddie was both. He was great in the ring and great on the mic.
Yeah.
It was a combo that was rare for his size and his stature. And to have a funny comedic side to that, home run, baby. In wrestling, that's a home run. You can't beat that.
Yeah, when he finally when finally the news came out and he passed away.
Oh,
Even that last match he had with Kennedy was fucking
Good.
was hilarious and it was great.
and honestly, it sucks because last match, that was his last match, but he went out right. He went out the way he did. He lied, he cheated, and he still won that match. So I mean, it was sad. I remember finding out about Eddie's death. I ran to my basement before school and I cried. I'll be dead ass. I was crying all day at school. In computer class, I was just on WWE.com looking up information on it. I ran to because me and my brother used to go on WWE.com every day before school and check out like pay-per-view results and like just new news, and that was the headline. And I ran in my basement. I mean, ran. My mom had to calm me down before school. My mom had to like legitimately have a conversation with me that it's gonna be okay, and all that was bad for me because I was also young, so it was like I was devastated. What happened when you found out?
I remember. Matter of fact, I was at work, and this is when I was working at the after-school program, and it was crazy because people knew I was a big wrestling fan, and even kids were coming and saying, "Do you hear about Eddie Guerrero?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I had to fucking go on a computer at the job to see it,
Right.
and I was like, "Oh, what the?" And it's just. You didn't expect it. Of course, you don't expect death with him, but not with
Never.
him. Because Eddie was is like a larger-than-life guy. And people were coming up to me at the job like if I was the Widow Guerrero. Like, they were just like, oh, my God, because they knew how much I love Eddie.
Yeah.
But it was just still shocking. It's like, holy shit, what the fuck? But then you hear the last days, the last hours of shit and how it occurred. And then you watch the tributes that came after.
Yeah, man.
It was second
That-
to Owen.
That
was
role was
the
bananas.
most fucked up thing that I've seen in wrestling.
That Raw was fucking terrible to
Yeah.
watch. It was torture.
My
That Raw
top
was
three
torture.
is the most saddest shit in wrestling was like Owen, Eddie, and after 9/11. Those are the
Right.
like the
Have
craziest
to
shit.
be. Have to be. I was not, like I said, I was too young to watch the 9/11 episode, but I did watch it on the network in full. It was fucking devastating. I mean, come on, let's be real. But when I tuned into Raw that night with the 10-bell salute and everyone crying, seeing Chris Benoit absolutely
he was
done. Like he was done. And to see it was devastating because it was out of nowhere.
And Benoit's a guy that you would never think was like that.
Benoit laughs at people fucking dying.
Shut up, you pussy!
Yeah, and for him to lose it, which basically, I'm sorry to say it, that was the spiral from there. Once Eddie died, Chris Benoit died. Okay?
I think so. I think that went as well.
And I don't care what nobody tells me.
The worst one to see was Batista. Batista lost it.
Oh, and he was talking. Yeah, he was
lost it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, he was a leader in the back. He was a true veteran in the game. He helped others. Supposedly, he was a great light. He stood up for what he believed in the back. He didn't back down. All characteristics of a leader and a true champion. I'm telling you, there would not be Daniel Bryan right now if it wasn't for Eddie Guerrero.
All the little guys.
All the little guys.
Yeah.
All the little guys.
The Seth Rollins, even it helped to elevate Edge because Edge was not the big guy.
But it's still, you know what?
It pushed him up to the front. You had Ray got his shot after Eddie passed, and especially when with that Royal Rumble. It was It's unfortunate that we had to see such a big star go out the way that he went out, and you could only imagine what kind of legacy he would have left still alive.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Like I said, I could have seen Eddie still wrestling, probably in AEW right now, whatever the case may be doing.
Eddie would have been the first person to bring. He would have brought 205 Live to greatness, son. If he was still in WWE, he would have made the cruiserweight division lit. Like I guarantee you on that, it would have been completely different. But the sad part is, you can only speculate.
Yeah, I know.
You can never see it. So, Latino Heat, man, is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
Even that whole thing with freaking China he made it work.
Yeah, he did. Which that could actually work with Angel Garza. Angel Garza kind of storyline.
Yeah.
But once again, it's sad that you have to speculate, but it's the only thing you could do is look back at the great career he had. Looking at Dominic now, who is truly he was a father figure as well. Storyline to the side, and he made a difference. That's what and I have a picture of him in my room. I just bought the action figure. I think my top 3 wrestlers of all time. He's up there. It's him, Shawn, and I think him, Shawn, and the third person is to be seen. But Shawn and Eddie are my 2 guys I love so much.
Frankie mentioned, he says his promos against Lesnar as a private person will hit you right in the feels, which he was playing now. And Chokeslam News was like Eddie versus Brock, No Way Out, 2002.
My favorite.
Yeah.
That match was insane. I mean, I hate that Goldberg interfered. Fuck you, Goldberg. But but when he jumped in the crowd with his mother, with the flag and everything, oh shit, that was emotional.
Yeah.
Emotional, man.
So guys, just to close out, as we look upon Eddie and his death, we also looked at his life, and we say that we only hope for where the state of wrestling is right now, that we have wrestlers who are coming up, when they look at what their wrestling career should or what it should or you would want it to be, you should look at and do your research and look at what the career of Eddie Guerrero was, because on and off the mic, in and out the ring, the man was a personality that was and out of the stratosphere. It was just it's big. You only wish that you had an uncle that would come to your house that was like that.
Facts.
Yeah, exactly.
100%, man.
So, guys, just before we close this out, just gonna leave this last piece of that promo that Eddie spoke about, and when we come back, we have conversations with Lee Walker from Sportskeeda, and got us a lot to talk about there. So, guys, don't go away, stick around, and as we say, we miss you, Eddie.
Latino Heat, baby.
Not going for me, Holmes, is that every obstacle that you'll never gain your kids back, you'll never redeem your children. You can't do it, Eddie. You're no one. No, it is not. No, Holmes. By the grace of God, I am beating those demons. I am overcoming those obstacles. See, because all I do is picture people like you in my mind. I hear the voices just like I'm hearing them by looking at you, Holmes. Just like I'm seeing and hearing all those people say, you can't do it, Eddie. That's what I see in you, Brock. I see nothing but a big, fat face of hatred when I look at you, ese vato. I see nothing but my next obstacle, Holmes. See, Brock, at No Way Out, you're not gonna be facing Eddie Guerrero. You're gonna be facing all the battle within me, all the fire that burns within me. You're gonna be facing Latino Heat.
Episode, but I did watch it on the network in full. It was fucking devastating. I mean, come on, let's be real. But when I tuned into Raw that night with the 10-bell salute and everyone crying, seeing Chris Benoit absolutely
he was
done. Like he was done. And to see it was devastating because it was out of nowhere.
And Benoit's a guy that you would never think was like that.
Benoit laughs at people fucking dying.
Shut up, you pussy!
Yeah, and for him to lose it, which basically, I'm sorry to say it, that was the spiral from there. Once Eddie died, Chris Benoit died. Okay?
I think so. I think that went as well.
And I don't care what nobody tells me.
The worst one to see was Batista. Batista lost it.
Oh, when he was talking, he was
lost it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, he was a leader in the back. He was a true veteran in the game. He helped others. Supposedly, he was a great light. He stood up for what he believed in the back. He didn't back down. All characteristics of a leader and a true champion. I'm telling you, there would not be Daniel Bryan right now if it wasn't for Eddie Guerrero.
All the little guys.
All the little guys.
Yeah.
All the little guys.
The Seth Rollins, even it helped to elevate Edge because Edge was not the big guy.
But it's still, you know what?
It pushed him up to the front. You had Ray got his shot after Eddie passed, especially when with that Royal Rumble. It was It's unfortunate that we had to see such a big star go out the way that he went out, and you could only imagine what kind of legacy he would have left still alive.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Like I said, I could have seen Eddie still wrestling, probably in an AEW right now, whatever the case may be doing.
Eddie would have been the first person to bring. He would have brought 205 Live to greatness, son. If he was still in WWE, he would have made the cruiserweight division lit. Like I guarantee you on that, it would have been completely different. But you can only. But the sad part is, you can only speculate.
Yeah, I know.
You can never see it. So, Latino Heat, man, is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
Hell, even that whole thing with freaking China he made it work.
Yeah, he did. Which that could actually work with Angel Garza. That's Angel Garza kind of storyline.
Yeah.
But once again, it's sad that you have to speculate, but it's the only thing you could do is look back at the great career he had. Looking at Dominic now, who is truly he was a father figure as well. Storyline to the side, and he made a difference. That's what and I have a picture of him in my room. I just bought the action figure. I think my top 3 wrestlers of all time. He's up there. It's him, Shawn, and I think Shawn, and the third person is to be seen. But Shawn and Eddie are my 2 guys I love so much.
Frankie mentioned, he says his promos against Lesnar as a private person will hit you right in the feels, which we was playing now. And Chokeslam News was like Eddie versus Brock, No Way Out, 2002.
My favorite.
Yeah.
That match was insane. I mean, I hate that Goldberg interfered. Fuck you, Goldberg. But but when he jumped in the crowd with his mother, with the flag and everything, oh shit, that was emotional.
Yeah.
Emotional, man.
So guys, just to close out, as we look upon Eddie and his death, we also looked at his life, and we say that we only hope for where the state of wrestling is right now, that we have wrestlers who are coming up, when they look at what their wrestling career should or look or what it should or you would want it to be, you should look at and do your research and look at what the career of Eddie Guerrero was, because on and off the mic, in and out the ring, the man was a personality that was and out of the stratosphere. It was just it's big. You only wish that you had an uncle that would come to your house that was like that.
Facts.
Yeah, exactly.
100%, man.
So, guys, just before we close this out, just gonna leave this last piece of that promo that Eddie spoke about, and when we come back, we have conversations with Lee Walker from Sportskeeda, and got us a lot to talk about there. So, guys, don't go away, stick around, and as we say, we miss you, Eddie.
Latino Heat, baby.
Not going for me, Holmes, is that every obstacle that you'll never gain your kids back, you'll never redeem your children. You can't do it, Eddie. You're no one. No, it is not. No, Holmes. By the grace of God, I am beating those demons. I am overcoming those obstacles. See, because all I do is picture people like you in my mind. I hear the voices just like I'm hearing them by looking at you, Holmes. Just like I'm seeing and hearing all those people say, you can't do it, Eddie. That's what I see in you, Brock. I see nothing but a big, fat face of hatred when I look at you, ese vato. I see nothing but my next obstacle, Holmes. See, Brock, at No Way Out, you're not gonna be facing Eddie Guerrero. You're gonna be facing all the battle within me, all the fire that burns within me. You're gonna be facing Latino Heat.
Yo, brah, Notorious 187 is here. LEX, OGs, 5150, the Latin Frank White. And you're listening to Turnbuckle Tabloid.
This is Impact Brody, and you listen to Turnbuckle Tabloid. Tune in each week. You know it.
This is the Ultimate Warrior, and when I'm not flying around the 13 galaxies around the Milky Way, and when I'm not over bench pressing 397 kajillion tons over my head and body slamming 345 mega heights of all individuals who are part of the intergalactical forces which make the Ultimate Warrior, I'm listening to Turnbuckle Tabloid. Download, stream, and share!
the Oswego. What year? You know what year they graduated?
Oh, they were this had to be late 90s and stuff like that. It was around that time, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Is it still the party school that it used to be?
No, and the interesting thing about that is, and the reason why I asked, I own a shuttle party bus service.
Oh, okay.
Called the Oswego D bus, aka the drunk bus.
Nice.
And I own another company of like party trolleys called Great Lakes Trolley, going off of being on a Great Lake.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why I asked what year they graduated, I started the company when I was 18 with my dad.
Oh.
And yeah, if we talk about the MTV True Life stuff, you'll actually hear a little bit about this.
Oh, so yeah.
Started the company with my dad. I was fresh out of high school in 2003. I was 18, and 18 years later, we're still running.
Look at that, you guys, and that's a beautiful thing that you guys cornered the market on where exactly is this most essential thing that college students would love. You know, bar be it from books and food, but party buses and such could work.
Yeah, like an Uber ride up here, like when the kids want to go out, because like so many of them try and go out at the same time.
Right.
So when they try and go out, it's like a $20 Uber ride. It's $2 for the bus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, super cheap. And I even do things like semester passes and stuff to, give them a discount and stuff like that, like where they pay for the whole semester up front.
Yeah, I remember dating a girl, and she was in Syracuse University, and when I would go see her, there was kind of like that kind of a shuttle kind of thing going on.
Yeah,
and it's usually like guys who basically just knew the hot spots. They knew exactly where everyone is at, and it's like dollar cabs out here in the city. Hey, don't worry, give me a couple of bucks, I'll take you here and there.
Yeah,
but it's like you said, it's like a big van or stuff like that. So everybody just knew where
like
they were
those
going.
big conversion vans and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Let me just check one thing. Don't be alarmed if I just automatically just get up and just walk away. It's not that I'm not paying attention to stuff. It's that I have something that's on that I'm dealing, because I'm a single dad, so my daughter, I have to take care of stuff. But I'm listening because I have my speaker on, and so if I just get up and just walk away and come back, it's not like I'm being rude. It's just I'm dealing with something.
You're fine. I totally get
and
it.
I'll lead you to a question to where you'll be able to like go off on a tangent, so you'll be all right.
Go down a little rabbit hole.
Yeah. And usually I'm quick. I just get up, grab something, and I'm coming back.
No worries, man. No worries.
So basically, it's a rolling conversation that we do here on Turnbuckle Tabloid. It's free talking. We go blue. We get risque. We just go off the hinge. We go off the rails. We'll talk wrestling, but sometimes I'll go wherever the conversation takes us. It's fine. That's what we do.
All right, awesome.
Yeah. So Lee Walker, met this man on a wrestling group. Actually, it's rare that I could come across an individual who enjoys wrestling, but also has a I'm trying to put it together. Basically a common sense kind of feeling when it comes to wrestling, because many wrestling fans and observers really, I don't know, sometimes I don't know if you come across this as well, but sometimes when you have these conversations with individuals about wrestling, I don't know, maybe they think they're way in over their heads, or they think they're part of the show, or they're involved, or there's many instances where I feel as though that they feel that they can do better. Right? I mean, is it just me, or have you seen this as well?
No, man, you're 100% right. I kind of look at it as other sports fans, like in the NFL, things like that. Like I myself am a Buffalo Bills fan, but you'll never hear me say, "Oh man, we had a tough week," and this and that. Like when people do that, I kind of think, well, what's your jersey number? What position are you in? What's your role on the team? Oh, you're a fan. Okay, never mind.
Right.
All right, I get it. I think the way social media and the way we communicate with each other on a social media platform has really taken off, and it's made it so fans can voice their opinions much more except now, it doesn't matter if it's pro wrestling or any other sport. Now it's an overly opinionated manner where, yeah, fans think that I can't believe he did that. I could do that better. Meanwhile, they're 5'9", 250 and completely out of shape. Right? Let's be honest here.
Listen, and the other thing that also kills me is, so you're in the field. Well, just let everybody know where your background is and what. Before I go down this way, what's your background? What is it that you do?
All right. So my background is I refer to myself as a wrestling journalist. I do more wrestling interviews than I do anything else in any other field, like MMA or boxing or, acting, things like that. I write for a company called Sportskeeda.com. 3 million followers on Facebook. They've been around a long time. Prior to my writing there, I've written for companies like TheRichest.com, TheSportster.com, Daily DDT, and the big one that most people would, really recognize my name outside of Sportskeeda was I worked for Ringside News.
Oh, whoa!
Yeah.
Oh, really? What's that?
I worked at Ringside News for about a year.
How long ago was this?
This would be 2018 to 2019.
Oh, please, we have so much of a hate relationship with that website.
I'm still friends with the owner, Steve Carrier.
Yeah,
he really is a nice guy and everything. There are issues with Ringside News, as a lot of people have seen, from the credibility of the articles, and even some other things. They've been called out several times by wrestlers themselves. One of the most recent I remember was, I believe it was Charlotte Flair. He went really, really hard attacking Lars Sullivan when all his stuff went down.
Right.
And that negativity, when you're a sports journalist and you're trying to do interviews, can really deter those that you're trying to work with from wanting to work with you, because they see the website and they're like, well, it's all negative. I don't really want to be involved with that.
Right.
So the best bet for me was to leave and go elsewhere. And Sportskeeda has been phenomenal. It's been a great place. Everybody there is awesome, and it's a lot of fun there. It's a lot of fun. It's
a good site, just as the other ones. I mean, the ones that you mentioned earlier, the Riches and stuff. People often see them, but they don't know. They're not really sure of what it is, because sometimes people consider it as like a clickbait kind of sites. Whereas when I started following, because I remember the Riches, for like 5-6 years ago, this was when I first started writing for our website, and I would get a lot of information from there as well. But I realized that the sites like that, like you guys over there at Sportskeeda and such, you guys are very in tune, very well versed in writing, which is, I think, is a lost art these days. Not only in wrestling, but in life in general. People really take for granted the art of literature and writing, and being in touch with how to put together sentences, paragraphs, and such like that. Did you go to school for this? Were you a student?
I went to SUNY Oswego. I originally got my first bachelor's in 2008. I went into the work field. Wasn't happy with what I was doing. And in 2012, this is an interesting part. In 2012, MTV came knocking and did an episode of MTV True Life. And the episode was called I Work for My Parents. It showcased just how unhappy I was and this and that. I decided to go back to college. And I went for communication, social interaction, with the idea that I was going to go work for a big company to run their social media.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with social media. I like doing that stuff. However, as you had just said in your statement, my writing skills sucked.
Mm-hmm.
They were horrible.
Right.
So I picked up writing a local company in my hometown called I Heart Oswego. They sent me to a local wrestling promotion called 2CW. as everyone, if you know, it's called Squared Circle Wrestling. It was really big up here in upstate New York, Syracuse, Watertown, Rome, all that area in upstate New York and central New York. And I went to that show. I interviewed Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Eddie Edwards, a recently released Solomon Crow from NXT, as we know in Impact, is Sami Callihan.
Right.
Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae, Matt Cross, Flash Funk, as we all know, Too Cold Scorpio. It was a huge list. And AJ Styles was there. AR Fox was there. I got to work and interview a lot of those guys. And for the most part, that was like my first real experience with wrestling. So when I went home to, transcribe their parts, I got that done in a day. And then the next day I quit.
Really?
Wrestling was where I wanted to be, and I knew it.
Wow.
Ever since I was a kid, my whole life had, been wrapped around professional wrestling, and I wrestled from the time I was a little tyke to 24, like in amateur wrestling, middle school, high school, college. I did all that. And so I knew I wanted to do something more than what I was doing, and getting that exposure into pro wrestling like that was really huge for me. And if it wasn't for the owner of 2CW and one of the managers there, KJ Parker, it would have never happened. So because they said, yeah, you can do these interviews. So thanks to them, and thanks to I Heart Oswego, I built my writing skills up. 2CW said, yeah, you can do this. And here I am today on your show.
It's funny you said that, because I came in somewhat the same way of being a big wrestling fan. And by happenstance, I was able to meet an individual who was in getting involved in the local indie scene out here in New York City. And at that time, the indies, it wasn't dying down, but it was just at a standstill. There wasn't really a lot of stuff going on. Mm-hmm. So I helped him to put together some promos and meet people here and there and such. And then finally, fast forward to 2020, I've been, I'm here doing this podcast. And I just, and I also was writing for websites and stuff like that. And it's funny that you mentioned when you meet the wrestlers and you start going, wow, I can do this. It's really cool that you're gonna do this. When you came to the realization that this is for me, it had to be a scary moment to say, like, I got to break away from this. In this is a calling. What was your first instinct to leap off the ledge? Because that's not easy for a lot of people to do.
No, it's really not. And after that, doing that, and I only wrote it for locally here at I Heart Oswego. At the time, I wasn't writing anywhere but there, so I didn't have a way to put those quotes out to the wrestling world, and I didn't know how to go about it. For me, it really wasn't scary. It was more exciting, because I've been watching pro wrestling on and off since as early as I can remember, which is somewhere around 3 or 4 years old.
Who was it? Was it grandpa? Was it your uncle? Was it dad? It's usually one of those three.
So I have 3 earliest memories, and I want to say it was my grandfather that got me into it. But it's weird because the memories I have don't match up in sync. So, like, one of them is I remember being at my grandparents' house watching. We weren't watching wrestling at the time, but Saturday, 6:05 on TBS, WCW Saturday Night.
Oh, the 6:05.
So my grandfather goes to me, he goes, "Hey, do you want to watch some wrestling?" Now, I'm a kid. The only thing I watched at the time was WWF. So I'm like, "Grandpa, what are you talking about? Wrestling was on this morning." He goes, "No, I'm not talking about that cartoon WWF garbage." He goes, "I'm talking about WCW where the big boys play." And I'm like,
the real wrestling.
I didn't know what WCW was.
Right.
Ric Flair comes on, and my grandfather's going nuts. My grandfather goes, "That's Ric Flair. That's the greatest champion in the world." I'm a little kid. I didn't know who Ric Flair was. I'm like, "Nuh-uh, Grandpa. Hulk Hogan is." So that's one of the earlier memories I have, which I think that comes in at number 2, I believe. I don't like I said, I don't remember these in order, but Macho Man marrying Miss Elizabeth at SummerSlam 91, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
I was 6, so yeah, that's the last earliest memory.
Oh, look at you! You're a young man. You're making me feel.
Yeah.
You're making me feel older. You're making me feel older by the minute.
So, that moment, I was just watching at my cousin's house, watching SummerSlam with him and his school friends. And every time Miss Elizabeth tried to come on the TV, we all ran up to try and kiss her. Of course, I'm the youngest, so I'm all the way in the back, and no one ever actually got to kiss Miss Elizabeth, by the way, because every time the camera panned on her, it went right to Macho. Macho Man.
Like you're actually kissing like Macho Man's ass or something like that.
Yeah, they're all kissing. Everyone's kissing Macho Man. I'm sitting in the back laughing at them all because I could never get to the front of the TV because I was the youngest. But my earliest, I think this is the earliest memory was when it came about SummerSlam 6, when obviously this was before that. My birthday's in October and SummerSlam's obviously in April. I got
WrestleMania. I mean, you're talking WrestleMania or SummerSlam?
No, I'm talking about WrestleMania now.
Right. Yes,
this is my earliest memory that I believe when the WWF Hasbros came out, and it was these two. When these figures came out from Series 1, Big Boss Man and Hulk Hogan, these are the ones I got for my birthday.
Right.
I can even tell you, yeah, on their butt it says 91. So 4 or 5 is my earliest memories of pro wrestling.
All right.
But yeah, no. I grew up totally a WWF guy until my grandfather exposed me to WCW.
It's funny you have that. You mentioned that because we had Homicide on the show. He's a friend of the show. He's been on a few times, and he and I, being from New York City, from Brooklyn, the only thing that you really knew was WWE, WWF at the time. The only way that you knew anything else was because of magazines and stuff. Trade. You go to the candy store, you go to the magazine shops, and you see these other wrestlers. My uncle put me onto it because my uncle was a big wrestling fan, but he was also an indie wrestler at in the late 70s and such. Mm-hmm. So the only thing that we can do, and you come across and you find it, and I laugh because when Homicide said it, I was like, holy shit, you too? There was a channel on the UHF station called it was U68, and you had to have either big rabbit ears or put aluminum foil and such like that. But it was every night at 7 p.m. and if you went on U68, you get the different other the outside promotions. You would get WCW, you get NWA, you would get AWA every day, and it was the only time. And when he mentioned it, he goes, "Dude, I had the pliers and I had to turn the knob the right way, and it was there. And bro, that was like the best fucking time. I was like, there's other things other than WWF out here." So I was like, oh, shit, yeah. So it's funny that you found wrestling in a different way because we didn't get cable later. But when we did get cable, the 605 was the thing.
Yeah.
So when you were growing up and you started seeing the different styles, the different promotions, the way that, like you said, WWE was the cartoon wrestling, and then you see the good old boy wrestling and such. Upstate, were you able to find different avenues and other wrestling promotions as well?
So as a kid, I didn't really follow back with WCW until '95 when WCW Nitro.
The Nitro, right.
I mean, as a kid, I completely, after that one night with my grandfather, I completely forgot about WCW. But then if my memory serves me correctly, we saw Ric Flair come in WWF in '91.
Exactly.
So like
a Royal Rumble winner.
Yeah, I mean he was there and gone with only a couple of years, and I do remember him in WWF, but prior to that, like I didn't know who he was until my grandfather showed me on WCW. The only way I was able to find other wrestling was 1996 on the MSG channel or network, whatever it was at the time. One random Saturday or Sunday morning, I stumbled across ECW.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know what it was, but when I watched it, I was mesmerized. It was something different. It was cool. The wrestlers came out to music I knew. It reminded me of like the dive bar of professional wrestling.
Right.
What it kind of reminded me of.
Right.
And I became a huge fan of ECW at that time. The hard thing about watching ECW during 96 before they got on TNN was you would have to go to channel 2 up here, the TV guide channel, to find what day and time ECW was going to be on because it was never in the same time slot.
Yeah.
I would catch it Saturdays at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
I'd catch it Sundays at 6 a.m. So it was all over the place, and it made it very hard to always catch it. But anytime I watched it, like I said, I loved it. It was just different wrestling, and it was cool.
It's funny that you mentioned when you first watched ECW and you was drawn into it, is that it was music that you knew. It was the popular music. You know, Sandman was coming in to Enter Sandman and such. It's a forgotten thought that was also the draw and the appeal that brought wrestling fans to that promotion in New York, and it was in New York City. You know, Paulie and the guys, they were like right up the block from us because they were run at the Elks Lodge and such, and you could see these guys.
Yeah.
But you forget that these were the times to where that promotion was on the pulse of a new generation of wrestling fans. It was, pre-Attitude Era and such. And we were getting into that moment where we were tired of seeing the other wrestling promotions and what they were doing. Do you think that ECW, their effect on wrestling now has hurt the business in a whole, or do you think that it's often misconstrued? It's often misconstrued as to what was the real purpose of ECW.
ECW has 100% have had their negative moments, just like any other professional wrestling company has had. I think they've personally done more good for the business really than bad. If it wasn't for ECW, we wouldn't have had the Dudley Boys. You wouldn't see Tommy Dreamer. A lot of these guys that we have been named: Sandman, Sabu, Taz. My favorite in ECW was Rob Van Dam. It's like a lot of these guys did end up going on and going elsewhere. Mike Awesome, ended up in both WCW and WWE for like a short time doing the one-off pay-per-views. Aldo Montoya, who went to ECW and became Just Incredible and became a big hit there.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of these guys, we see several times over, that, whether they started in ECW or didn't start in ECW, at some point they ended up in ECW. But it was also good for other legends. Sadly, the recently passed away Tracy Smothers. It helped, resurrect his career a little bit. And honestly, it was next to like being in, territories and WCW.
Yeah. Right.
It was probably the next biggest thing, for Tracy Smothers that he did. Another one would be Bam Bam Bigelow, helped his career. Psycho Sid helped get his career going back up again. And one of the biggest ones to me, and I actually talked about this with Dustin Rhodes, was when Dusty Rhodes went into ECW.
Right. He had that stint, yeah.
Yeah, and when I talked to Dustin at the time, he was Goldust in WWE. I had asked him, and he got really choked up, and he had said that his father, Dusty, was the kind of guy at that time would spend $2, but only make $1 and say, I'll make it up later. And as Dustin choked up, he basically said that later kind of never really came. So his dad did what he had to do to help to make ends meet for his family. So he went to ECW.
Right. Yeah, it's funny you say that, and it's a conversation that I was listening to on the Art of Wrestling with Colt Cabana, where Scorpio Sky spoke to Cody, and they were talking about finances, and Cody had said, I guess basically in a nutshell told Sky, he says, spend it now because you could always make that money later. And now that you mention it, that's the Dusty mentality, because Dusty was the guy that he. You've heard stories that he and Rick would go back and forth and buy the biggest minks and the biggest, the best suits and such. I think that, just piggybacking off the ECW conversation it's the ripple effects that happens later on in not only the wrestlers but the wrestling fandom. Their view and the perception of the business, because the reason why I asked the question is now we see that wrestling fans are drawn more to the hyper violent, like death matches, or you can't have a wrestling match or a wrestling event without having at least one kind of hardcore or street fight. As much as we could always say that ECW basically took its elements from Japan, but that seemed to have been what people only remember from ECW is the hardcore elements. They don't remember basically the great light heavyweights, the cruiserweights during that time. They don't remember the key matches that these guys like Rob Van Dam, Taz, Sabu had that didn't have to do with furniture. And I think these days, I think that ECW had basically left a stamp of just saying everything's hardcore when it really isn't. Do you see that's the easy way out when it comes to these wrestling promotions, especially indies these days, that they have to be hardcore, they have to be edgy, and they're afraid of actually putting together legit matches?
Well, and that's the interesting thing, because I'm kind of glad you brought that up, because actually one of my favorite matches in ECW never even involved any weapons at all. 1995, Dean Malenko versus Eddie Guerrero in ECW.
I was going to call that. I knew you was going to go that route. Great match.
That is hands down one of, in my opinion, the top 10 most technical wrestling matches of all time. And for ECW to put that on was shocking, especially when they're trying to go with this new wave. But in the rise and fall of ECW, Paul Heyman does, talk about, he wanted the hardcore matches and new stuff, but he wanted to appease to all fans at this time, and he did. Hence, we saw WCW end up poaching a lot of his cruiserweights from the Lionheart, Chris Jericho, Rey Mysterio, Psychosis, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Saturn. All these guys end up going to WCW in a very short amount of time. I mean, we even saw Sabu go to WCW for a year in 1995.
Don't forget my boy Hacky.
Yeah, Hack went to Hack went there. Sid, Bam Bam Bigelow, but Sabu was the first one, because at that time ECW was trying to get a feel from those bigger companies on trying to gain a working relationship. WCW did not really know how to market it. WWF did, and that's when we see the first invasion of ECW in 1997, involving Sabu, Taz, Paul Heyman, Tommy Dreamer, all involved with that storyline with WWF, and primarily commentator Jerry the King Lawler.
Right, when they talk that whole somewhat pseudo invasion angle and such. It goes to show you that somebody had they had a finger on the pulse of what that promotion was about and what was coming out of there. It was basically their they quietly said their minor leagues, and the one thing that people tend to forget was that Paul was a genius, but Paul really wasn't wasn't really good with the finances and the money. And a lot of these guys had to go and they had to leave.
Yeah.
And it was it was, as much as it was heartbreaking for them, they they had to leave. So when ECW closed their doors, it seemed as though that at the same time when WCW closes its doors, we only basically had one thing to look for and look out to. But I know that there's another promotion that plays high in your area as well. I want to know if it was impactful up there and upstate, which was Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor plays easily on the stations up there than it would have over here in New York. We had to find it. Ring of Honor, was it how was the impact up there when like Sinclair Networks and all that were showing the promotion?
So Ring of Honor, just like for you, is also kind of hard for me to find. Really? Because
I always thought that upstate, I always see TV listings, but it was always for like Buffalo and such like that.
So Ring of Honor, at least in my area, I do have to look for it. I believe it's like either Saturday or Sunday, but it's either one of those days. But the time, again, it's like the times change too. Sometimes it's on at 3 p.m. Sometimes it's on at 6 p.m. Like you have to look to find out and make sure. Obviously right now they haven't, with the pandemic, they haven't really been doing anything. I haven't really looked to see if there's any shows, but with my podcast, Perch on the Top Rope, I have a working relationship with Ring of Honor, and recently just worked with Joe Hendry.
I saw that. Right. That I was going to get
really great guy. Great interview. But Ring of Honor, in my eyes, isn't getting the credit that they used to in the wrestling world. For starters, their champion is PCO, who is we knew is one of the Quebecers with Rougeau, and PCO, man, he's resurrected his career. The man at 54 is moving better than some of the cruiserweights that we see on 205 Live. Sometimes the man will do anything to put over a good match, and it shows. And but they have other great talent. They got Jonathan Gresham. They've got.
Jonathan just won the Pure Championship, which by the way was a fantastic tournament. I mean,
and he's also trained by former WWF bodyguard Total Protection, Mr. Hughes. And when it comes to Mr. Hughes, anyone that I see that he is trained, I really pay attention to, because I'm writing his autobiography right now. I'm his ghostwriter.
Oh, nice.
And what's even more interesting about that, he's actually an ECW original.
Right.
He was Redneck Hughes up until Shane Douglas grabbed the NWA title, threw it to the ground, and then picked up the new ECW championship. He was with him up until that point.
Right.
So anyone that Mr. Hughes has had an impact on it, I try and watch, and Jonathan's been one of them. But I like what Ring of Honor does. It's different. I've always been a fan of like when the fans throw the streamers in and stuff like that. And, I'd like to see more out of Ring of Honor now, as they are now starting to start doing shows again.
Yeah, it was one of those, once again, that I know a lot of guys who were there on the ground floor when it started. The Amazing Reds, Brian Excel, SAT, Homicide, the recently passing of Xavier. All these guys were our guys from New York, from many of them from Brooklyn, and to see them start off at a promotion that basically people were like, they really didn't get an understanding of what it was, and like low key, and then all of a sudden it was almost as though that it was kind of being like in a secret society of a new wrestling circle. It's like you wasn't really sure of if people will understand it or get it. But it's also, you also got that these guys were wrestling historians because they loved the Japan stuff. They were even geeky like us because they liked anime, or they liked video games and stuff.
Yeah.
And they really had their wrestling and their fine tuning of how to make that promotion better. It was great for us when we were able to find it, but like you, it was hard for us to get to it. But but how it's progressed with the ebb and flows, it goes up and down. With it has its highs, its lows. Their connection with Japan and such. It always seems as though that just when they think they're out of contention of being recognized, the pure tournament like they just had recently was something that wrestling fans were able to gravitate to again. Another promotion that you probably follow or were able to, where was Impact Wrestling, TNA. TNA was another one as well.
Yes.
What was your thoughts of TNA early on when it was in that mix of the what is it, the promotions that were throwing rocks at the throne of WWE?
Yeah, so Impact has gone through a bunch of different things, and the way they've handled stuff early on. WWE had bought out everybody, and there was nothing that you had nothing else to watch. So when it was, when TNA came out and Jeff Jarrett did this whole thing, it was really cool, and it was something new, and I think different people have had too many hands in the cookie pot.
Right.
However, like right now, I personally think Impact is one of the best wrestling shows that you can watch, and I'm shocked that Ring of Honor hasn't really followed in Impact's footsteps, because if you can't find Impact on Access, you can watch it on Twitch for free.
Right.
So I'm shocked that they haven't followed that sort of route. Like we see NWA Power doesn't have a TV deal, so they go to YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Impact, they know their TV deal is not the best TV deal out there, but they have Twitch, which anyone can watch it and watch it for free.
Right.
Just like YouTube. MLW is another one. They're in the same sort of situation, hard to find, so you watch on YouTube. We're starting to find that there's other revenues and other ways to watch these shows as opposed to just cable. But you do have to look for them, and you got to pay attention to when they're on and stuff like that. I like Impact, I really do. Like I said, I think Impact is honestly one of the better shows out there right now. I'm a fan of NXT also. NXT does a phenomenal job. AEW, even though AEW and NXT are on the same night, same time, both are great shows. And what I like about that is it brings me back to like the Monday Night Wars of channel flipping.
Right.
Both, very similar styles in wrestling with, how they do things and stuff like that. But it's exciting to watch. And now there's wrestling on every day of the week almost. And then you also have pay-per-views. So there's a lot of wrestling going on, and there's a lot to watch. So I always like to try and watch everything, and I try and pay attention to, who's going where, or what's going to happen. And one of the biggest things I personally try not to do is, if I don't watch the show, I don't try and look up spoilers. I don't try and just read what happens. I try and find clips, whether it's on YouTube or, go back and watch an Impact on Twitch and stuff like that. But there's a lot of good wrestling, and as things are starting to open up, I'm very happy that, ROH is starting to do shows again. We're seeing shows with New Japan again, MLW, all these shows. MLW's got their restart coming up in, I think the first show airs November 18th, I believe.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. We have our friend of the show is Kiro Kwan from MLW as well. So we've also had one of the booking agents on the show as well. And it's a show that it's a program. It's a wrestling viewing that. It's so cool because it's kind of like how NWA is fast paced. You don't get like these long, drawn on matches. You get these matches that they're hard hitting. They're there, and I've always been a fan also of their commentary. I miss Cornette, I really do, but still, the commentary team is really good, and it's like you mentioned, we now can watch wrestling on so many different platforms. I really enjoy like the NWA Power stuff. It's been amazing how another thing that's quick, hard hitting. You get it in an hour, but it feels as though you're getting a meal in like 10 minutes, and it's like almost like Thanksgiving in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Wait, wow, the time flies. Woo. I gotta before I let you go, I want to get more into your writing, because you mentioned earlier that you're writing alongside your ghostwriting for Mr. Hughes, and this comes from a guy who said his writing was shit. He said,
when I first started, like I said, I had to find like a local publication to write, because my skills, they just weren't there. And then as they helped me build my skills and everything, and until it was until basically I didn't really need that much help from editors anymore, type deal.
Right.
It's always good to have editors and look at your stuff. Even to this day, like with Sportskeeda, editors always look through your work first. And even with my podcast, Perched on the Top Rope, you can find it just about anywhere with Podbean, YouTube, all that stuff. But I did something different with my local newspaper. Was actually publishing my interviews and was naming the segments in the newspaper Perched on the Top Rope. So I just let them use my logo, and I would post a photo with myself next to the wrestler that I interviewed and transcribe it. And so I joked that I don't know many podcasts that actually go backwards into the printing process. But I did that just so I could, build the brand up in a different way. And, the locals loved it, to where people would message me and say, "Hey, can you post more photos with the wrestlers? My grandson loves it," and stuff like that. And it's really cool to from a local standpoint have that happen.
Yeah, it's you think that it's a print is a dying art, but you'll be surprised how many people you'll see on a bus or a train who's still on a newspaper or picking up the local free circular that has certain articles or certain mentions. It's shocking that it's still relevant to this day. I enjoy picking up a magazine. Like I'll pick up the PWI sometimes, or I'll see anything that has a mention of wrestling, as such as a Time magazine or a People or whatever that's discussing like AEW's rise or something. I still pick them up, and I enjoy holding paper. you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like we've been so consumed with everything with this device that we carry in our pocket that you forget that you can turn a page. It's a weird thing. I miss my WWE magazines. I do. I miss picking up that kind of industry. When you're having these sit downs and conversations on your podcast, or you're doing it for print, I myself have had my moments to where it's not like I look over or take for granted who I have across from me or over the phone, but I also take as a moments like I want to say that there's not many instances that I do mark out, but when the conversation is done, I get that sense of, oh, that was awesome. Like you feel it. Who has been one of those big conversations that you had that you actually at the end looked at it and goes, wow, I can't believe I just did that.
Oh man. Can you hold on 1 second? I'm going to go get a list. All right. So I can look. And also, if you're having a beer, I'm going to go to my fridge and get one too.
Oh, sure. No problem. Go ahead. Go.
I can't let you drink alone, my man.
Oh, thanks. Sure.
So, like I said, the first cheers, by the way, my man.
Cheers, sir. I got the White Claw. I see you over there.
It's all that's in my fridge. Someone must have left it because I don't.
Right.
Who have I like been like, oh my god, I can't believe I just did that. So early on, like some of my first earlier interviews, like At the time, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Eddie Edwards. I marked out Howard for those because at the time Kenny Omega was in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
The Young Bucks, I believe, were in Ring of Honor. Honestly, one of the biggest ones that I marked out for after was Kevin Nash.
Oh.
I literally walked up to his table and I was just like, hey, he had just gotten done doing an interview with 2 college students. And so I went up right after them and asked if I could do an interview. And I think he just thought I was a college student type deal, which was cool. At that same time, Sabu was there and he was getting, working on his autobiography with the same publication I'm doing Mr. Hughes with, WOHW publication. And I actually helped out with Sabu on his, getting forwards with Al Snow, Shane Douglas, and Just Incredible. The Godfather was one, Gold Dust at the time, because doing interviews with people who are currently in WWE is like the hardest thing to do in the world, to get them on and to get them to.
Yeah, the landscape, especially these days, is not that easy anymore.
No, you got to jump through hoops. Anyone that was, somebody that I watched as a kid, Typhoon, Honky Tonk Man, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Tatanka, who else? Lex Luger, Buff Bagwell, Scott Steiner.
You had your pick of the litter. Look at you over there.
Yeah, those, Jake the Snake Roberts, Cowboy Bob Orton. Those were all guys that I when I interviewed them, really marked out. And the Scott Steiner one was really cool because the promoter of the wrestling show literally came to grab me out of the crowd and says, "You do interviews?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Come on, you're going to go interview Scott Steiner." I had nothing prepared. I was like, didn't even, he just saw me and goes, "Hey, come on, you're going to go do this." And I was like, all I have is my phone. He goes, "I don't care. You're going to do it." I was like, all right, cool. Tyson Kidd is another one I interviewed while he was, he's a producer in WWE and still, with WWE. So that one was a lot of fun for me. Booker T twice was interviewing him twice was I totally marked out after in my head.
Right.
But I would honestly say the biggest one that I really, really was like, oh my God. Mark Henry, after he had pretty much just gone into the WWE Hall of Fame and everything like that, follows me on Twitter. I had written an article on Sportskeeda, really about a lot of the guys as they would come in, who would do a shout out / pledge towards the Davey Boy Smith going into the Hall of Fame campaign that was run by Michael Finney over in England.
Mm-hmm.
So I had tweeted at him with that one article on that, and he retweeted it and then followed me. And then I knew I was going to the big event, so I took my shot and I sent him a DM. I go, "Hey, Mr. Henry, I'm the guy who wrote this article that you retweeted and now following me. I'm going to be at the big event. Would it be possible? Could we do an interview?" And he right away answered back, "Yeah, kid, that's not a problem." And I just went like this,
You did the Macaulay Culkin,
yeah. I was like, no way. Some of the other bigger ones that were, really hit home. Billy Gunn.
I've met him. He's a pisser. I've met him.
Oh yeah. And MJF, all while in AEW doing those interviews was really cool. But for me, Jerry Lawler, the older guys, Hillbilly Jim, Road Dogg Jesse James, all completely awesome. So for me, those ones are, really the more memorable ones. Lita's a memorable one. I've interviewed her twice. She's amazing. Marty Jannetty was really cool too.
I would have thought that might have been Interesting. That could have been an interesting one.
And like a lot of these names, like I'll say some of these names and people will be like, well, I met him and that one's a jerk or that one's a jerk. And I'm just like, you might have met them on a bad day or something.
Right.
Because like there hasn't been one person that I've interviewed, and I've interviewed like over 30 WWE Hall of Famers. Not one person has been negative, mean, shot me down. None of that. They are just like everybody else in this world. They're a person too, and they have their moments. Like that's like when people are like, well, I met him and he was a jerk, or this one or that one. And I'm like I said, you might have met him on a bad day type deal, because I've met all these guys, and a lot of the times they didn't know that they were even doing an interview before I even got there. Like
you're like the Sean Oliver of your area. You're that guy up there. It's cool because with us, we have our moments on this show. It's funny, we're almost 4 years doing this, 190 some odd episodes in, and we've had our moments, but our moments here, it's always been the indie guys who we see break through and who are breaking through. We love those guys. One guy that's from your area that's up there as well, by Buffalo and such, Danny Garcia, we've had on the show. Great guy, awesome dude.
Yeah.
Like I said, we've had Ortiz from Proud and Powerful. We've had him on the show. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, the Homicide. These guys, we have the conversations with them. Like I said, also Akira Kwan from Contra Unit. He's been on the show. He's a friend of the show. He's been on a few times. Those guys, it's one of those things to where we sit and we converse, and you're almost forgetting that they're wrestlers. You just have these conversations, and just like anything else, I usually don't want to go talk too much wrestling. Of course, we want to dip and dab of it, but I like to hear the outside stuff. I like to hear that what video games they're playing, or how many rats they've been with during their runs. Yeah. But I'll be honest with you, it was somewhat wrestling related, but my biggest mark out moment that we've had on the show wasn't actually a wrestler. It was actually because we were big Howard Stern fans here, and we had Casey Armstrong on the show.
Oh, no way.
And he spoke MMA, and he spoke some wrestling, because he would do the booking for like the Gold Dust or the Iron, or when Iron Sheik would come in and such like that. So it was that kind of thing. And that was the one that I walked away and I turned around. I was like, dude, that was fucking awesome, man. That's great. But I've always loved and appreciate, your list is it's immaculate. It's good to know that there's guys like you that's out there who very low key, very from what I've been seeing and what I've been following, you're very low key when it comes to being with a repertoire like that. I'd probably wear that shit on a t-shirt. Look who the fuck I've wrestled. Look who the fuck I've interviewed, and it's gone up and down my back. But it's also it's great that you do that. And like I said, it was a great meeting you, and hopefully we can continue this conversation and this relationship, because it's actually pretty cool to know that there's a fellow New Yorker who's actually a wrestling geek who enjoys talking to the masses and pretty much is a whore for themselves as well. I mean, this is why we do this. This is why we have a podcast. This is why we write, because in all honesty, we're fucking attention whores, and we love doing stuff for us. As much as it is, we love to shine the light on the individuals. It's all about, it could be about us as well. So this is what we do.
Oh yeah, no. I like, there's a lot that I could really like, I guess is like bragging rights. Like the MTV True Life thing was big for me. And that actually helped me getting into acting. I actually had a scene with Adrian Brody in, it was 2018 for a movie. It didn't have a title yet. It was just a Clean Picture LLC. We shot it in Syracuse, New York.
Mm-hmm.
And Adrian Brody kills me in this movie.
Oh!
Which is kind of cool. It's a gangster style movie. But the last I checked was the production company was being sued, so I haven't seen anything. But I do have a movie out right now on Amazon, the Prime stream. It's called An Odd Man Rush. It's based on the the book of a hockey player who ends up making his way to playing on the Harvard hockey team in college.
Oh, okay.
So I'm in that, and so I'm more than just interviews and stuff like that. I'm trying to be like a mass. I'm trying to like do a little bit of everything.
Look at you being a Renaissance man. You're a jack of all trades and master of none. Listen, it's never too late, man. And I myself I've been sitting here. I've dabbed in the field of theatrics as well. I'm one to be known as a connoisseur of the theater, and I feel as though like this has been a great outlet even when it comes to wrestling or podcasting and stuff. It's always been it's never over. Listen, I've known guys like Samuel L. Jackson who's gotten to the game late, and look how success he became. I always tell people it can happen. It can happen.
Yeah,
look at this.
It really can.
But Lee, thanks for stopping in with us, sir. And I really do look forward to doing these conversations with you more, if you don't mind and such. We should set something up to where we could have more dialogue, especially during the big times once wrestling starts opening up again. We should have these conversations. Lee, let everybody know where they could get you and what you have coming up soon.
Okay. So actually, one of the biggest things that I've been talking about is obviously Mr. Hughes' autobiography. I am in the middle of doing editing on that right now, so I'm hoping to have that out for. It was supposed to be out for over the summer, but the pandemic hit, and now I'm looking at like spring 2021. Tomorrow on Perched on the Top Rope, I am interviewing Harry from Harry and the Slash Tones, which you would know because he wrote the themes to the ECW original where it goes, "This is extreme."
Oh, okay.
He also did Taz's theme, and he also did Sabu's theme. So that's going to be really fun for me to do. Friday, you can catch me on the Dean's Den with Steve Kane. That is a live show that airs right after SmackDown at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Sunday, you can catch me live on Perched on the Top Rope on Facebook at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And that's where you can find me. You can find me anywhere on social media. Facebook is just, Lee Walker. Twitter, it's _just_Walker. Same with my Instagram is the same thing. When it comes to Perched on the Top Rope, it's just facebook.com/Perched on the Top Rope. You can find us on Instagram. It's Perched on the Top Rope, but between every word is an underscore. It sucks. I'm sorry. I can't change it. And Twitter is Perched Top Rope because Perched on the Top Rope didn't fit.
Yeah, it sounds like it's very I don't know, very audacious, like a turnbuckle tabloid. Like it's like I picked the wrong name to carry over as a podcast. It's just way too long.
Yeah.
But Lee, thanks again for checking in, sir. And once again, we'll look forward to doing more business later on down the line. And stay safe and enjoy your White Claw, sir.
Yeah, thanks, man. You too. Enjoy the rest of your night. And I definitely like to have you come on Perched on the Top Rope because I always love talking with other podcasters and getting an idea of how they feel about what's going on in the wrestling world, because in this day and age there's so many podcasts involving professional wrestling and this and that. Like the Dean's Den, I go on that every Friday. I'm basically like the co-host now. If you want to do something where I can come on every week if you want and we can do this, I'm cool with it. I love talking wrestling, and it's been part of my life for 30 years now, and I don't see that changing. So,
listen, I'm not ashamed to say it. I do enjoy talking, so we could do something like that. I pretty much do enjoy the sound of my own voice, but we'll kick it around. Like say, hey, we it was meant to be for us to meet. It was fortuitous.
Yeah.
So thanks again, sir, and enjoy your night.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one.
All righty.
Turnbuckle Tabloid.
3, 2, 1.
Turnbuckle Tabloid.